You are lying there, eyes open. It is 3:47 a.m. The ceiling stares back at you like it has seen this scene 1,000 times before. Your phone glows in the dark. Notifications you do not remember checking. Your chest feels heavy, not from pain, from nothing. A quiet emptiness that has no name. You tell yourself you will start tomorrow. You have been saying that for months, maybe years. The alarm will ring in a few hours. You already know what you will do. You will hit snooze. You will scroll. You will feel the day slipping through your fingers before your feet even touch the floor. And somewhere deep inside, a voice whispers, "This is not who you were supposed to become." You are not lazy. Let us be clear about that. You have tried. You have downloaded the apps. You have written the goals in journals you never opened again. You have watched the videos about waking up at 5 a.m., about cold showers, about grinding until your bones ache. And still, something does not click. The notifications keep coming. The group chats keep pulling. The endless scroll keeps feeding you images of people who seem to have figured it out. And you feel like you are running in water. Exhausted, moving, going nowhere. The modern world told you that success is about doing more, hustle harder. Optimize everything. Never rest. Show, ju, breathe. And now your mind feels like a browser with 47 tabs open. All of them loading. None of them finished. You are tired. But not the kind of tired sleep can fix. This is a tiredness of the spirit. A fatigue that lives in the space between who you are and who you feel you should be. And in that space, there is only noise. Constant, suffocating noise. But here is the truth no one told you. The noise is not coming from outside. It never was. The enemy is not your boss, your circumstances, your lack of time. The enemy is something far more subtle. It is the version of you that seeks comfort. The version that clings to outcomes it cannot control. The version that has forgotten that stillness is not weakness, that surrender is not failure. You have not lost your way because you are broken. You have lost your way because you forgot there was ever a path. The ancient masters had a word for this. They called it losing your center. And 400 years ago, in a Japan torn by war and blood and chaos, one man walked a path so ruthlessly disciplined that even death could not shake him. His name was Miyamoto Musashi, and what he discovered in the silence of mountain caves and the violence of 60 duels is the exact medicine this fractured age has forgotten. Musashi was not born invincible. He was not gifted with calm. At 13, he killed his first man. By the time he was 30, he had cut down over 60 opponents in single combat. And yet, he did not write about technique when he sat down to pass on his wisdom. He wrote about the mind because Musashi understood something that escapes most people even today. The sword does not win the fight. The self does. And the self must be forged every single morning, without exception, until the day you die. He called it the way. Not a destination. A practice, a daily death, and rebirth. The first method Musashi carved into his life was the most terrifying of all. He embraced emptiness. Not emptiness as loss. Emptiness as freedom. He called it the mind of no mind. When you are attached to outcomes, you are paralyzed by them. When you need validation, you become a slave to it. Musashi let go of everything. Reputation, comfort, the need to be understood. He wandered with nothing, owned nothing. And in that void, he found something unshakable. A stillness that could not be disturbed, because there was nothing left to take from him. You are not empty. You are full of noise, of fear, of other people's opinions wearing your voice. True emptiness is not the absence of self. It is the absence of distraction from self. And that emptiness begins the moment you open your eyes each morning. Musashi never woke to chaos. He woke to ritual, a sacred sequence that anchored his body before his mind could spiral. Not productivity hacks, not apps or reminders. Rituals that meant something. Movement before thought. Breath before action. He would rise before the sun touched the mountains. He would sit. He would breathe. He would hold his sword, not to fight, but to remember. This blade could take a life. This day could change everything. Am I awake enough to meet it? Most people stumble into their mornings, like passengers in their own lives. Musashi entered each day like a warrior stepping onto the battlefield. Because to him, there was no difference. Every moment was a duel with distraction. Every sunrise was a chance to die to the old self, and rise again, sharper. You do not need an elaborate routine. You need a sacred one. Something your body knows before your mind wakes up. Something that says, I am here. I am choosing this. I am not drifting. But ritual alone is not enough. Musashi knew that comfort was a slow poison. He did not seek pain for its own sake, but he understood that pain was the doorway to transformation. So he walked through it willingly. Cold rivers at dawn, training until his arms could not lift the sword. Days without food, when food was scarce. Not punishment. Purification. There is something inside you that only reveals itself when you are uncomfortable. Call it resilience. Call it power. Call it the version of you that has been asleep because you never forced it to wake. Musashi forced it every day, not by grinding until he broke, but by choosing difficulty when ease was available. The cold shower when the hot one is waiting. The silence when the phone is calling. The stillness when the mind is screaming for stimulation. This is not self-destruction. This is self-retrieval. You are not punishing yourself. You are finding yourself beneath the comfort, beneath the excuses, beneath the noise. And here is where you must understand something that separates Musashi from every modern guru who shouts at you to hustle harder. Musashi did not resist life. He flowed with it. There is an ancient principle that Chinese masters called Wu Wei. It means effortless action, not laziness, not surrender, but alignment so precise that effort becomes invisible, like water finding its way downhill, like the sword that moves not from thought, but from instinct. Musashi did not force his victories. He arrived at them, because his mind was not fighting against the moment. His mind was the moment. When you wake up at war with yourself, you have already lost. When you drag yourself through routines you hate, you are building resentment, not resilience. Discipline is not violence against the self. Discipline is harmony with the self. It is not doing what you hate because you hate it. It is becoming the kind of person who no longer hates what must be done. That transformation does not happen overnight. It happens slowly, one morning at a time, one breath at a time. The Japanese call this Kaizen. Continuous improvement, not revolution. Evolution, you do not conquer yourself in one dramatic battle. You conquer yourself in the 10,000 tiny choices no one will ever see. The alarm rings, you rise. That is a victory. The craving calls, you pause. That is a victory. The old voice whispers, not today. You answer, especially today. That is a victory. And those victories compound. Silently, relentlessly. Until one day, you look in the mirror and the person staring back is unrecognizable. Not because you changed your circumstances, because you changed your foundation. Musashi never stopped. Even when he had nothing left to prove. Even when his name was legend and his sword was untested for decades. He kept walking. He kept training. He kept refining. He called us Gambaru, to persevere, to endure with patience, not the loud, flashy endurance of motivational speeches. The quiet, invisible endurance of someone who has made peace with the path, because the path has no finish line. It is not something you complete. It is something you become. In his final days, alone in a cave called Rigendo, Musashi wrote 21 precepts for life. He had no students left to teach, no enemies left to fight. He wrote them for himself, and perhaps for you. One of them simply said, do not seek pleasure for its own sake. Another, do not regret what you have done. Another, think lightly of yourself. Think deeply of the world. He was not teaching strategy. He was teaching surrender. Surrender to the process. Surrender to the discipline. Surrender to the endless becoming that only ends when you do. So here you are. Still reading, still watching, still hoping the next video will be the one that finally changes you. But you already know the answer. You have always known. You do not need more information. You need decision. Not the decision to become invincible in 6 months. The decision to stop betraying yourself every morning. Musashi did not become Musashi because he had secret knowledge. He became Musashi because he refused to press snooze. Every single day. For 60 years. Until the gap between who he was and who he was becoming disappeared entirely. The question is not whether you can change. You can. The question is simpler and far more terrifying. Will you do what you know you must do when no one is watching? When the bed is warm, when the world is still, when every part of you begs for 5 more minutes of comfort. Will you rise anyway? The sword is not held by the hand. The sword is held by the will, and your will is forged not in the moments of glory, but in the dark, silent mornings when no one sees you. Choose yourself. Tomorrow, you will wake again. The ceiling will stare back. The phone will glow, and the old version of you will whisper, "Not today." What will you answer? The path does not end here, it begins. Sit with that.